Hello everybody, today I want to show you how to create a guessing game using Python without even installing the software. So let's get started. So the thing that I want to introduce you first is the platform that we're going to be using. It's called Repl.it. So just type it on Google and then you will see a homepage like this. So this Repl.it is actually an online platform that allows us to use tons of different languages to program without installing the software. So it's very convenient, especially if you don't have the storage or if you just don't want to install the software. So today we're just going to choose Python 3. So just click on it, and then we'll have this main page for Python 3. So today we're just going to code anonymously. On the left hand side is where we're going to write our code, and the right hand side is where the results are going to be showing. Just to give you an idea of what we're going to be doing today. So we're going to run our program, and then it's telling us the guessing game is starting now, and we're also prompted with a question asking us what the magic number is, and we have to guess a number. So guess it, and then we'll get a feedback from the program, either telling us sorry, please try it again, or keep guessing until we get the right number. So let me guess. It's 10. So it's right because I wrote the program, so I know what the magic number is. So by the end of the video, you should be able to do something like this as well. The way that I'm going to show you is I'm going to use something called commenting. So just use a hashtag and write whatever. These are not going to be the codes that we're going to be using. Instead, they're almost like a notepad. So whatever you write after the hashtag is not going to be run through the Python program. So today I want to show you some very basic commands through this guessing game. I really like learning things from examples, so I hope you like this as well. So the first thing that I want to introduce to you is called print. Okay, so print, what it does is it print whatever we write inside of the parentheses. Okay, so for example, if I want to say, I want to print, so just have the parentheses and also the quotation marks ready, and then you can type whatever you want. I know most of the time people type hello world, right? So today we're going to be a little bit creative. So we're going to say the guessing game starting now! Exclamation point. So now if we hit this run button, this sentence is going to show up on the right hand side. So let's try that. The guessing game starting now. Okay, so this is awesome. So we just wrote our first line of code. This is great. So this is the first command that I want to show you. So very useful, very commonly used in Python. And the second thing that I want to show you is to understand the input command. So what this does is it allows us to interact with users and take input from them. So that's why it's called input, right? So if there's something that we want to ask the user, this is the best thing to do. So for example, in this guessing game, we want to ask the player or the user what the number is, right? So we can say input, have our parentheses ready as well. We're going to ask them, what is the magic number, right? And now if I run it, this question is going to show up on the right hand side. Also allows us to type something in. So let's run it. So what is the magic number? So now if you see, there's like a grayish space, so that allows us to type any number we want. We can just type 5, or 50, whatever. But it's not going to do anything afterwards because there's no codes after our input line, right? So if we wanted to do something, we need to keep writing. So yeah, so now we just wrote our second line of code, which is pretty awesome. So the next thing that I want to introduce to you is something called if. So the way this guessing game works is we're going to ask the user to guess a number first, and if it meets our standard, actually before this if statement we're going to define a variable. So let's also start something called variables. So a variable is almost like a name in reality, right? Everything has a name. A name, yeah, just a name, right? So for example, before even starting this game, we have to predefine our magic number, right? So that the user can guess it. So magic number is equal to, we need to give it a value, right? So give it value 10. So in this case, this magic number is the variable. So this number here, its name is magic number. Or you can give it other names as well, A, B, C, or just I don't know, as long as it's a name, that's a variable. But make sure that if you have two words, make sure they're somehow connected. Either they're just completely connected or having a underscore in between them. Okay, so this is a variable. So now we know what the magic number is. We know it, but the guesser, the person who's guessing it, doesn't know this. Okay, so what we're going to do now is going to use our if statement. So let me type if here. So what does if does is it allows us to set up a condition. Okay, so in this case, what we want to do is if certain thing or certain criteria or certain condition is met, then we will do something. So in this case, let's just say if the person guesses this right, then we're going to print you are absolutely right? You're right. So what we're going to write here is the condition. So the condition is if the input number is equal to 10, right? So we can say if. So now this actually gives another example for using our variables. So now if input, what is the magic number? It's going to be very long. So in order to simplify this process, we can give this input a name. So I'm giving this A, right? It's so simple, right? So that allows us just to, instead of writing the whole line, we can just type if A is equal to 10. So pay attention to these double equal signs. So that's just what Python takes in the if condition. So two equal signs means equal. Okay. So if A is equal to 10, then we'll tell the person you are right. But before we even run the code, I noticed there's something wrong, right? Because the input is a string. It's a sentence. Whatever we have here is a sentence. So it's going to be, so the user is going to input a number, but still it is going to be a string. And here we're saying a string is equal to a number, which doesn't make sense. It's almost asking, or it's almost saying an apple is equal to a pair of shoes, right? So it doesn't make sense. So the only way of us making them equivalent is to change this A into another number, right? So they can be equivalent. So this allows us to define that actually there are so many different data types, right? You probably have never heard of string before. So there's three major data types. So data types, the first one is we can say integers and numbers. Oh, integers and floats, sorry. So this essentially is just numbers. So if you see 10, 20, 5, whatever, right? These are considered integers or floats. And the second type is what we just mentioned here, string. It sounds super fancy, but they're just sentences or words, right? It can be a sentence or it can be a words, but whenever we use it, we use quotation marks. So it can be, Python or, any words. So this is the second type. And the third type, oh, I forgot a 2 here. So this is second type. And the third type, we're not going to use the third type today, but it's going to be very useful later on. So it's called Boolean. So these are true or false, right? True or false. So just, you don't have to know this at this moment, but I think the first 2 types are the ones that we're going to be using today. So like what we said before, this input is a string. And in our if statement, we're saying a string is equal to a integer, which doesn't make sense. So we're going to change this a into a integer as well. So the way Python handles it is just to type int and parentheses. So now we successfully changed this integer, this a, which is a string, to a integer. So now this is a very, they're equivalent, right? A number is equal to a number. So now let's try this. Oh, actually, one more thing. So we actually need to have a colon after the if statement as well. That's just the format of it. So maybe let me add something here. So make sure to have colon at the end. Okay? So now if we run it, it's going to show up as, what is the magic number? Okay, yeah, so we ask and then we type something. So let's say if now I type 10, what do you expect? You are right? So it's because that's the way that we set up this program. But if I type something else, I expect it's going to be no response. So if I type 11, right, nothing, because we haven't programmed that part yet. So now we are halfway through our conditions, right? So now, what we can do is, so what if that person doesn't guess this 10, right? So what would happen? So what do we want to do is we want to say else. So this, let me put else after if. So else, what this does is when you have, so whatever is left, right? You have if. So if this condition is met, then we do this. And whatever is left, do this. So else is the remaining condition, right? So else we don't have to do anything. We just need to finish it with a colon. So now else. So what do we want to do? So we want to print. So print and also say, oh, sorry. Right? If they didn't guess this right, so we're going to say sorry. Please try it again. Or let's give it a crying face, right? Please try it again. So now let's run it, and I'm going to type something other than 10. So I'm going to type 6. Right now it's telling me, sorry, please try it again. So this is basically the code, right? So if you have something that you want to apply, feel free to do that. And just a recap, today what we learned is we learned how to print a statement, and we also learned how to use input, and we also learned how to assign a value to a variable, or the definition of a variable, and also we learned how to use if and else, and we also learned a little bit about different types of data. So that concludes the video. I hope you found this video helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you next time.